It's AngryWanwan here with the latest update patch just released on the official server. You won't miss anything if you stick with me until the end. New hero Arlott, the Lone Lancer, is available now. Arlott Spotlight, skill analysis and gameplay will be coming soon. Due to the changes in items, developers have noticed that two meta-marksmen, Moskov and Karrie, have excessive power. They reduced Moskov's early game and farming power. Skill 1 fixed cooldown 7.5 seconds is now 10 seconds in the early game, and 8 seconds in the late game. The attack speed is reduced by 0.15 times in the early game, but remains the same in the late game. Karrie triggers 2 attack effects as well as passive 2 frequently with golden stuff. Passive damage now deals 6% of the target's max HP in the early game, but remains the same, 8% in the late game. While the ultimate is active, basic attacks, damage and attack effects both are now reduced by 15% in the early game and 5% in the late game. Bully Gloo is now caught red-handed. Skill 1 slam damage is reduced by 100 points in the early game and 50 points in the late game. Skill 1 fixed regen 3% is now reduced by 1.5% in the early game, and remains the same in the late game. He will now not get stuck in walls anymore. MLBB Nerf Star is back with another nerf. Yve's Skill 2 initial fixed slow effect is reduced by 25%, but final slow effect remains the same at 75%. Ultimate cooldown is increased by 8 seconds in the early game, and 10 seconds in the late game. Lapu-Lapu puts too much pressure on opponents in the lane, so they reduce Skill 1 base damage by 35 points in both the early and late game. Base damage of first 2 hits of ultimate is reduced by 35 points in both the early and late game. Hayabusa is currently overperforming. Skill 1 base damage is reduced by 20 points in both the early and late game. With these changes on Hanabi, developers hope she will be played in high-rank matches. If her primary target is other than the turret will now bounce it as well. Skill 1 shield from any sources will now grant CC immunity to Hanabi. Skill 2 casting speed is slightly increased while ultimate casting speed is greatly increased. Na 10 base damage is increased by 25 points. Lifesteal ratio is increased by 30%. Spell vamp ratio is increased by 20%. Ultimate cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds in the early game, and 2 seconds in the late game. Also, he will gain more magic power instead of physical attack. He is officially a mage now. Julian is currently struggling in high rank, so his passive enhanced basic attack's magic power is increased by 20%. Enhanced skill 1 continuous damage is increased by 25 points in both the early and late game. Enhanced skill 2 is increased by 15 points in the early game and 35 points in the late game. Also, magic damage is increased by 3% in this skill. Edith is now a good laner with these changes. Her chain lighting damage is now based on the target's max HP. Also, chain lighting damage on minions is increased by 120%. Shield gain while ultimate is now based on max HP instead of magic power. Lifesteal after transformation is increased by 5% in the early game, and remains same in the late game. Attack speed after transformation is increased by 25% in the early game, and remains same in the late game. Paquito is also underperforming. Skill 1 enhanced shield is increased by 20%. Skill 2 enhanced damage is increased by 10 points in the early game, and 110 points in the late game. Also, damage increased by 15% in this skill. Cyclops is also forgotten because of the high mana cost of skills, so they lower the mana cost of skill 2 by 15 points in the early game and 35 points in the late game. Ultimate damage is increased by 50 points in the early game, and 80 points in the late game. Esmerelda is also on the list. Skill 2 magic damage is increased by 60 points in the early game, and 110 points in the late game. Also, magic damage is increased by 30% in this skill. Skill 1 CD reduction upon hero hit is now fixed at 1.5 seconds instead of 1.3 seconds. Fanny now can be countered by some CC skills, which we're going to cover soon, so they increased her HP growth by 10 points. Last on our list is Yve. Now he will gain 8% spell vamp when no allied heroes are within 4 units. Now coming to the battlefield adjustments. CC like airborne and suppression now interrupt quick movement skills, causing the target to stop immediately, so Fanny users stay alert. Conceal has been nerfed. Max movement speed is reduced by 6% in the early game, and 15% in the late game. CC like knockback effects now applies a micro stun effect. All these heroes' skills are include this effect. Pause and see. Sound effect of recall effects, custom actions, graffiti, and battle emotes are now can only be heard if target is within vision. Optimized Kagura's Saimai Umbrella's ability to pass through walls. Optimized the low HP indicator for Martis Ultimate. Now coming to the new functions and events. The MLBB X Jujutsu Kaisen event is coming on February 18th. All the collab skin will be online from February 18th to March 20th. Event tokens will be available 25 to 27 February and 11 to 13 March. But this event is different from other. First 10x draw guaranteed a random collab skin instead of a fixed collab skin. Also, there will be a MLBB X Jiu-Jitsu Kaisen Rewards event, available between February 18th to March 13th. Fanny, Heart Afloat, will be available on February 14th, server time. Claude, Heart Aflame, will be available on February 14th, server time. MPL exclusive skin Brody, Quantum Grip, will be available on February 23rd, server time. March Starlight exclusive skin Valentina, Cyber Agent, will be available on March 1st, server time. Naten, Tidal Lord, will be available in Grand Collection on March 4th, server time. Florin, Paw Power, will be available for purchase on March 8th, server time, for 599 diamonds. Estes, Galaxy Dominator, has been completely revamped and will be returning soon. Lancelot Pisces has been completely revamped and will be returning soon. Now if you have a low or mid-end device, resource downloading will be optimized for you. Means it will now take up less space. Now your most used hero's HD skin portrait will be shown in favorite heroes section. Changes to hero power are now shown in history like glorious mythic points. Now your team voice chat will be connected if you choose to play again after a match is ended. New chat feature is available only for Android user. On February 15th, Fragment Shop adjustment will be online. Premium skin Fragment Shop added. Terizla, Rustrek, Rare skin Fragment Shop added. Aldous, the Insentient, Sunshin, Azure Sentry, Lapu-Lapu Special, Force, Valor, Dictator, Kufra, Desert Owl, removed. Akai, Akazoni Samurai, Layla, Bunny Babe, Grok, Iceland Golem, Natalia, Phantom Dancer, Lunox, Bloody Mary, Hero Fragment Shop added. Valentina, Naten Johnson, removed. Bruno, Beatrix, Angela, Paquito. That is all about this patch. If I miss anything, let me know in the comment section. Also, let me know if are you happy with this update. Stay tuned for Arlot. Thanks for watching, stay safe.